Hi, I'm Dave Monty. Welcome to my video series, Everything Villages. Today I'm going to be doing something that I've been threatening to do for a year and a half, and that is update my pricing videos, so stay tuned. As always, before we get started, if you like this video, please hit like. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. Both those actions help these videos reach more people, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, if you'd like a copy of my free 42-page guide, Buying and Selling a Home in the Villages, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. I also have a nifty cost of living calculator that I'll probably going to show a little bit of that in the second part of this series. But if you'd like a copy of that, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. Like I said in the introduction, I've been threatening to do this for a while on my market updates. I have other pricing videos out there, but I needed to update them. And so we're going to update the videos. And the first one is going to be how pricing works. In other words, how do we do market analysis? Why is it important to get the pricing correct? Basically just a kind of a tutorial on the nuts and bolts of it. The second part, we're going to talk about location and how prices vary throughout the villages, including taxes, bonds, and the pricing of the home. And in part three, we're going to talk about the elements of a home and a lot, the bigger ones that will affect pricing the most. And there's probably like 10 of those that we should take into consideration. All right. To start with, pricing is subjective to some degree. There's definitely math and there's some automated tools, and we talk about price per square foot. But if you've got a view, not all views are created equal. If you've got a pool, not all pools are created equal. How the house shows is going to affect how much you can ask for a home. And so there is some subjectivity built into it. But really what we do is I'm going to show you how the math is done, talk about the conversations I have with my listing clients as well as my buyers at some point, and show you how we set a price for a house. In the villages, a lot of people pay cash. It's like over 65%. And as interest rates increase, more people will dip into cash in order to pay for homes. When you have that, you don't really have guardrails. So I highly recommend that you're working with a buyer's agent or even the listing agent selling the house, and make sure you understand how the pricing was arrived at on a specific house to make sure that you're not overpaying. I've had buyers who I've said, hey, look, this house is X dollars overpriced, and they go, we don't care, we like the house, and they make an offer on the house. I know that I have saved some of my buying clients hundreds of thousands of dollars from overpaying on a house. I had a couple of them where the house was just way overpriced, and my buyer said, hey, we want to make an offer. And I said, well, you can, but here's the market analysis. I think you're going to pay X amount overpriced. So I've had some people, helps with negotiation or helps my buyers walk away from potentially making a mistake. Now, before we get started, I talk about this quite a bit in my market updates. And if you want a little bit more detail on this, you can go to my latest market update that I just released a day or two ago. There's a little bit of a disconnect that has been going on for over a year here in the villages. And this is selling price right here, this beigey line right here. During COVID, pricing shot up. This isn't exactly the exact thing. It actually went up and came down a little bit. But in general, over the last year or so, pricing has been flat. I got it kind of ticking down here, but it has been pretty flat, the selling price. However, for some odd reason, sellers keep putting higher and higher and higher prices on their homes. And they don't sell. They're sitting on the market. The market corrects pricing. So in other words, if it's priced too high and your competitors are priced lower, people are going to go towards the competitors. So over time, the sellers end up lowering their price to get closer to this, this selling price, and even probably even lower. Here's the disconnect. The buyers, when they see this, are thinking the selling price is doing this. So the buyers think selling price is doing this because they keep seeing these prices go down. So currently I have, over the last 6 months, I've had a ton of buyers come in and lowball, and most of them don't get accepted. I think I've probably made seriously, maybe 30 or 40 lowball offers over the last year, and I think we had one accepted. And because the buyers think it is a huge buyer's market, and it is a much better market than it was during COVID, but it's still a very even market at this point. So pricing has remained very flat. Now, getting price is critical when listing a home. And the reason I say that is that most of your views happen right at the beginning. Anyone who's got saved searches on Zillow, Redfin, on the MLS, Realtor.com, etc., when a new home hits the market, they get an email. And that email goes to all of these people, and they look at it one time. If it's overpriced, they're just going to skip right over it. The pictures aren't nice. They're going to skip right over it. So it is critical up front to make sure that you have the pricing correct. Do sellers push the market? And they try to. Do agents sometimes give in to the sellers and say, hey, I think it's overpriced, but we'll price it the way you want anyway? Just know that if you want to get it sold quickly, you want to make sure pricing is correct up front. And this is just kind of how it looks. It's 12 views at the beginning, and then it went down to one or two views, or if any. Then we had a price reduction, and it hits the price reduction list, and a lot of people will keep an eye on that. Our goal when we're setting a price is to come up with a fair market value and price just over fair market value for a couple of reasons. One of them is you want a little bit of room to negotiate. But the main thing is you're trying to hit that market properly. If you set it too low, you run the risk of selling it real quickly. If you got 15 people knocking on your door the first day, especially in this market, you've priced it way too low. But our goal is to get it right here. If you price it too high, often you end up selling it for a lot less than you would have if you priced it correctly to begin with. Why does that happen? Well, you initially priced it too high. Over time, you drop the price, and now you're months into it. And finally, someone comes by and makes a lowball offer, and you go, I'll take it. So the resolve just gets worn down over time. One of the very first questions my buyers always ask is, how long has this house been on the market? So the longer it's been on the market, the more they think they can lowball offers. And frankly, the sellers whose houses have been on the market for a while will tend to take lower offers. Too high of a price just backfires more than often. Again, what we're trying to do is go just above fair market value, hopefully sell it in days and weeks rather than months. All of us are guilty of this next thing, and I like to call happy ears. We hear what we want to hear. If you're a seller, anything you hear that supports a much higher price on your home, you're going to listen to. Anything that doesn't, you're not going to listen to. For buyers, anything that supports their idea that this is a buyer's market, they're going to listen to that, and they're going to discredit everything else. Sellers, when I go in on a listing appointment, watch their street. They want to see how much this house went for, that house went for, and this house went for. Most of them will only kind of look at the initial list price of a home, and they never really pay attention to what the house ever actually sold for. So they hear, and I'll just use it, hey, $500,000 for this house, but it sold for $450,000 because it was priced too high to begin with. It's out on the market forever and went to $450,000. But the person who's about to list their house only hears that $500,000. Also, a lot of times, I've been in that house. My house is much nicer. But that house might be 200 square feet more. It might have things that their house doesn't have that will affect pricing. And again, we'll talk about all these elements. Okay, but just know that when someone's coming in to do a market analysis, they're showing you the numbers. They're not guessing at what a house sold for 3 years ago during COVID. We're basing it on the current market. Hopefully, when you're working with a listing agent like I do, I like to show all my homework to show you exactly how I came up with a price. All right, so how do we arrive at a price? It's pretty simple. It's a little bit challenging to do, but it's simple in concept. There's a market out there. All these other houses have sold or on the market or are pending. What we'll do is we will Search the MLS for homes that are very similar, near the same location, about the same size, similar features, etc. Now, you don't always get an exact match, so when you get all these comparable properties, you now have to adjust pricing on those comparable properties, and I'll show you here in a second. Once all those prices are adjusted, then you kind of average everything out, and from those averages, you can come up with a range. What's the average price for a home? If your home was off the charts really nice, can you sell it at the highest point? If it needs a lot of work, we sell it at the lower end of the range. So you come up with an average price as well as a range of prices, and then it turns into a conversation, which I'll show here. So comparable property. So what I've done is I've got my subject property. It's about this size. It's got a garage and a golf cart garage. This property over here is a little bit smaller, doesn't have a golf cart garage. This house is about the same size, doesn't have a golf cart garage, but has landscaping. There's my landscaping icon. This house down here is much bigger, doesn't have the landscaping, etc. So what I need to do is I need to adjust these comparable properties. All right. So the first one we'll do is this top one. The house is a little bit smaller than this one and doesn't have a golf cart garage. Now, what I need to do is I need to adjust this property for the things that are missing. So I would say, okay, if I needed to take this house and make it bigger, and I'd add price per square foot, now I have to adjust, and I don't actually change the house. I'm just adjusting for the price. So I have to increase the price. So if this is $400,000, I might have to increase the price by $40,000 to adjust for the size of the home. I also need to add in the cost of a golf cart garage, and that's going to be between $25,000 and $30,000. Again, we're going to get to that in the third part of this series here. Okay, on the next one, same size house, so I don't have to make an adjustment for square footage, but I have to remove the landscaping. This landscaping isn't as nice in this house, so the price of this home reflects nice landscaping. I also needed to add in a golf cart garage because it doesn't have a golf cart garage. I come down to this one. This house is much bigger, so I need to, take away money and make the house a little bit smaller. Okay, and that's about all I have to do for an adjustment on that property. Now, once I've adjusted all these prices, I take an average. So this is how I come up with a market analysis, a little worksheet that I put together, which automatically adjusts for square footage. Then I'll come in here and adjust, okay, does it have landscaping or not? Does it have a summer kitchen, a lanai? How well does it show, etc. I come up with a range of prices based on making all the adjustments to these properties. Here's the square footage of my subject properties up here. It's a 2-car garage. It's a standard interior lot. So say this one on Belden Court had a bigger lot that could accommodate a pool, then I might have to take $50,000 off the price of this one, which I'd put right there. But what I do is I come up with the pricing. I also double check my work. I don't just put pricing out there. There's 2 automated tools that I use, and there's other automated tools out there, but the 2 that I use, one of them is a local MLS and then the National Association of Realtors, and they come up with a fair market value here, and a range. So here's my range. I take these numbers and average them together. So the average price for this house is $434,000. The low range, say it needed a lot of help, maybe even flipper might even be below this, but say it didn't show well, it needed a lot of work, holes in the wall, dirty carpets, etc. We might be listing it down here. If it's off the charts, it's got everything everyone's looking for. It's got the granite countertops. It's got consistent flooring throughout the house, nice neutral colors. It's decorated nicely. Then we can start pushing the upper end of that range. What I tell people is that this is just math. At this point, this is just a math problem. This is not setting the price. I'm just going to go through with my buyer or my listing client the same exact thing and say, okay, based on the condition of this home, I believe the price is worth this. Okay, but that's again just math. Other factors will go into it. It is factors that, especially on the listing side, is how much time do you have? Time versus price is the big thing, right? If you have just bought a house and you have 2 mortgages and you just want to move on to the next house, let's put a little bit lower of a price on it. It'll sell quicker. Right? If you have all the time in the world, you're just taking a stab at the market, and hopefully somebody comes along who doesn't quite know what they're doing and you can make a big profit, then we can put a little bit of a higher price on the home. So this is a conversation that I would have with my listing clients, is where do we want to set this price? Again, I'll show you the math. then we'll have a discussion. If we price it high, price it low, we'll talk about the ramifications of that. We've done the math, and I understand your objectives in this process. Now it's trying to figure out, okay, what do we actually list the home at? Well, you want to build in a little bit of room for negotiation. Then what I like to do is take a look at buyer behaviors or even the systems that we use. And one of the things that I do, I have free reign to search any range of pricing that I want. And I find that I do this, is that I search between $25,000 increments when, kind of at the lower range of budgets. In the middle range of budgets, you're usually searching in $50,000 increments. And as you get higher up, closer to 900,000 to $1 million, people tend to search in $100,000 increments when they're looking for a house. The systems or the tools like Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, when you're scrolling through and picking pricing, the minimum and max pricing, those are in these increments as well. So how do you sort of take advantage of this or strategize through it? Well, within these increments, you can have buckets. So we've done the math, had a conversation, and we came up with a fair market value of $435,000. Well, if someone's already searching up to $450,000, if we push this price up to $449,000, they're not going to miss it. And so I'm always, let's push the price for the listing clients at least to the high end of a specific bucket. Conversely, if it comes in at the fair market value of $425,000 and we've already built in a little bit of room for negotiation, it might make more sense to put it in that lower bucket. Now you'll have the nicest home in that bucket up to that $425,000. The goal here is to have the conversation, not just to go, here's the math, you want to make a lot of money, let's just throw a price on it. Let's make sure we understand the buyers and understand the market and the tools and how to take advantage of those specific tools. I use these buckets for decisions on price drops too. As I said earlier in this video, pricing is subjective, right? We've done the math, which is objective. We've had the conversation of, what do you need to get out of the home? How fast do you need to go? And we set a price. We put it on the market and we have no showings or very few showings. That means that we probably missed the market a little bit, and it happens. Where you have very few showings in the first couple of weeks and instantly you kind of know that you're probably overpriced. Rather, again, than just saying, okay, we're overpriced, let's drop it $5,000, let's drop it $10,000. Let's take a look at a little bit of strategy here as well. In this particular case, my price was $530,000. We're pretty close to the next bucket down, which is $525,000. So that's what we did. We dropped it from $530,000 to $525,000. And you see that we had a pretty large increase in at least people viewing the listing. The reason this is a big increase is because we dropped down into a new bucket. The people who were searching up to 525 never saw this home. Now the people searching up to 525 will see this home. Now that we're at the 525, I don't think it now makes sense to drop it down to $500,000. So instead of dropping even $5,000, I like to do what I call micro drops, $500 to $1,000. It hits the price reduction list, and that's why you see an increase in traffic here. So this is an increase in traffic due to hitting the price reduction list as well as dropping down into the bucket and getting another group of people. All right. So overall, kind of the point of this video is that one, you pay a lot of money to work with a realtor. They should know the market. They should show you how they do their math. And the math is the math. It's funny, and I won't say arguments, but you get people go, I don't agree with this. And it's like, it's just math. This is the homes that are on the market. Here's the ones that are pending. These are the ones that have just sold. And this is what the market is bearing for these homes. Then the conversation becomes about the features and functions and how well the home shows, what the goals are of that particular client, and then understanding the tools and a little bit of buyer behavior to be able to go ahead and set that price. All right, well, that concludes this video. As always, if you like a copy of my free 42-page guide, you can email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. Or if you like a copy of my free nifty cost of living calculator, you can also email me right here at davemontysales@gmail.com. Well, I hope you found this video informative, probably not entertaining, but informative, and I hope to see you around the villages. Take care.